Hi, I'm Steve Blears, this time on the Media Training Podcast. Journalists are usually extremely time poor and really direct, but don't let this throw you off guard. Is this off the record? Is this on the record? Just kind of chat to them, see what they want. Resist the urge to say, oh, Dave should do this, not me. Do not turn down media requests because you're anxious, yeah? Okay, let's look at the first step in preparing for a media interview. Now, when a journalist or a news organisation calls you, it's because they're looking basically for some help. They may have questions about you or your organisation, or they're looking for someone specific with specific expertise to explain or give context to a news story. Now, my number one tip here is don't panic. A media appearance is an amazing opportunity. It's a chance to share your insight, share your knowledge, share your expertise. So don't get in a flap about it. So where do we start with our preparation? Well, obviously journalists have lots of questions, but let's start with some questions of our own. Let's find out who they are, what they want, and why they want to speak to us, the who, what, why approach. Basically, we've got some questions we need answering before we're going to agree to appear in the media. So let's start with, who are they? Now, when journalists get in touch, they will always introduce themselves and say which media organisation they're from. But, you want to dig a little deeper. This is because many journalists are specialists, and there's all sorts of news organisations. For example, if they're from the BBC in the UK, do they work in local or national news? Do they work in online, radio or TV? What's the name of their network or station? Is it BBC Radio 4, Radio 1, Radio 2? What's their programme called? So you might end up with an answer like, well, I'm calling you from BBC Radio 4 Moneybox. So, should you agree to appear on that show, you've got a great starting point for your research, because a quick Google search of BBC Radio 4 Moneybox comes up with this. BBC Radio 4 Moneybox is the latest news from the world of personal finance, plus advice for those trying to make the most of their money. Brilliant. Okay, so we know who we're dealing with now. You can listen to the show, you can listen to previous episodes online, and that'll help you really with the tone, the content, and the kind of style of the show. You can listen back to it and go, okay, yeah, right, this is what it's all about. And if you're listening back to a show or watching a program, look out for the presenter's style. Is it combative or relaxed and friendly? What kind of questions do they ask? What sort of key themes and issues do they discuss? You can get an idea of how long the interviews are going to be by watching and listening to it. And is the show live or is it pre-recorded? So doing your research on a program will help you focus on your preparation. And you'll also be able to sort of tailor your tone and style and answers so that you fit in perfectly, and hopefully so you get asked back again at some point in the future. Tick. Now, a little tip for you at this point. Journalists are usually extremely time poor and really direct, but don't let this throw you off guard. Don't immediately assume that they're trying to catch you out. People are very kind of guarded when someone calls. You don't need to go, is this off the record? Is this on the record? Just kind of chat to them, see what they want, yeah? Next, in our who, what, why approach, let's go to what. What do they actually want? Now, people appearing in the news media, that's you, fall into two pretty broad categories, I would say. Number one, the story is about you or your business. Maybe your business sent out a press release about itself, or your organisation has found itself at the centre of a news story somehow. The story is about you. The second kind of group of people who appear in the news, the story is not actually about you, but you are an expert commenting on the news, giving insight and context to a story that does not directly involve you. Phew. Now, in your conversation with the journalist, it should become clear which category you fall into. You're the news or you're talking about the news. And obviously, number two is the sweet spot that we encourage our clients to occupy. Now, do a great job in this sort of number two area where the story isn't about you. sharing your expertise on air, and you really stand a great chance of becoming a regular contributor on that programme. This will elevate your status in your organisation, among your peers, among your industry peers and clients. And your competitors will see you or hear you on the radio, and they'll do that thing with their lips that makes it look like a cat's bum. Okay, they'll be jealous. Now, if you fall into category 1, you are part of the news, your preparation should probably include speaking to your PR team to discuss your key messages. Good luck. Okay, right, that's who and what. Next is why. And this is an important question to ask. Why me? Why are you ringing me? Why do you want me to come on your news show? Understand why the journalist chose to reach out to you specifically. Are you an expert in your field? Does your professional standing or background make you a suitable person to comment on air? Gaining this sort of clarity can help you decide what you're going to say. Now, a little sidebar here, some advice. If you are knowledgeable or expert in your field, resist the urge to say, oh, Dave should do this, not me. Resist the urge to suggest someone else who you deem to be more expert to do it. Now, this is especially appropriate if you're a woman and that person you're suggesting does it instead of you is a man. All too often, women step aside for male colleagues in this situation, and the news has a big enough problem with diversity without you adding to it. Don't just try and pass the buck. If you've got the knowledge and expertise to appear on air and you are qualified and senior enough in your organisation to speak, obviously, then don't duck the interview. If you have a good understanding of the topic and have opinions on it, you're good to go. So, in summary, using the who, why and what approach should help you get your preparation underway. You'll also need to figure out what the schedule is. Figure out when the interview is going to take place to gauge your preparation time. Don't be surprised if they say, can you come on in an hour? Yeah. Get a pen and pad out, start scribbling, start thinking. That's actually quite normal, especially in, fast-moving news stories. Engage your team. Reach out to your PR or marketing team and brainstorm the best approach to this interview. Think about themes and your key messages. If you don't have a PR team, speak to a colleague for support. And importantly, as ever, we're dealing with journalists, respond promptly, okay? They will pretty much want an immediate response. Can you come on or can't you? Yeah. Don't say I'll get back to you in an hour or just pick up a voice message and think about it, or see a text from them or email and go, yeah, maybe I'll get back to them tomorrow. That's no good. Minutes matter. Don't leave it hours. Also, in your initial conversation with the journalist, treat that as a kind of warm-up interview, because quite often in the research call that a producer or the reporter might have with you when they're looking for someone to appear on air, they'll kind of try you out. They'll see what you've got to say before saying, can you do it? So make a note of what they're asking, because those sorts of themes and topics are the ones that will come up in the actual TV interview. Now, preparing with stories. I've mentioned this previously. As you gear up your interview, think about that time when the journalist or presenter will say to you, oh, that's interesting. For example, examples and anecdotes to support your facts and main talking points. These narratives will resonate with the viewers. And important advice for you finally, do not turn down media requests because you're anxious. Yeah, this is a great opportunity. Don't over-prepare. Most live interviews are generally under 3 minutes in duration. Prepare to make 5 points and expect to say just 3. Okay, that's it for the first steps in preparing for a media interview. There's lots more advice. Just Google Marvelous Media Training and check out all the blogs, vlogs and podcasts that we've got there. Thanks for listening.